Welcome.
Cool, thanks. Good to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Amazing. Well, before we get into the nitty-gritty of what we want to, discuss with our audience and highlight to everyone, how would you introduce yourself to our audience today? What would you like them to know a little bit about you?
Okay, so I guess in summary, I'm an engineering consultant. I'm passionate about technology, and um, I really like using motorsport as a platform to uh, research, innovate, and implement technologies that are relevant to all sorts of other industries. So I work through my consultancy, Wavey Dynamics, and we specialize in engineering design, aerodynamics, vehicle dynamics, and that's kind of in a design and development capacity and also a trackside capacity.
Amazing. And I know a lot of young people, boys and girls across Britain today want to get into engineering. So what would you say would be your journey and how did you get into engineering in the first place? Why engineering?
So I guess my journey was quite, in the beginning, was quite well trodden, quite traditional. So I went to university. I did a master's in automotive engineering. Graduated coming up for 10 years ago now. And yeah, why engineering? I think for me, um, at the point in which I chose a career in engineering, it was just because I loved understanding how things worked and why they worked. And it was just one particular area in my life which I always had a passion for ever since I was very young.
Mhm.
So that makes
And
sense.
okay. And what does motorsport mean to you? Why go down the journey of motorsport? What sentiment does that bring to you?
Um, well, on many levels actually. So the first one, I guess, is that it's a place where there's a lot of innovation because
Mm,
your innovation, your ability to innovate becomes your competitive edge. So it really advances technology in a way that a lot of other spaces don't.
mm,
There's obviously the competitive aspect of it, which I've always competed in sports. So to
mm,
be part of a team all working to accomplish a specific mission is
mm,
quite good. But also, as I touched on earlier, there's like to make an effective race car, um, you really need to draw on so many different areas of science and engineering in a way that a lot of other engineering disciplines don't. So all the way from friction in tires to combustion in the engines to even
mm.
biomechanics in creating an environment which is comfortable for a driver to race for hours on end. Yeah, it just draws from so many different influences that it's a place where you can develop depth, a real depth of understanding in the engineering and sciences.
Thank you for that. And I think that's really important in regards to highlighting that engineering is not just, one stream, but there are so many different aspects and funnels that you pull on for experiences. And I think, you know, engineering is all about innovation and, wanting to create something. And I think, in this day and age where technology is advancing, we're utilizing, different methods of doing things. Electric cars came about when that wasn't so much of a hot topic, number of years ago, and now we're talking about everyone needs to go electric. So I think, the conversation around engineering being quite an innovative, creative, and competitive, world, you know industry has taken up the interest of more and more people nowadays, especially
Mm.
when we see, young people going into STEM. So in terms of that, you know there is loads of stats and loads of information out there that talks about, you know the lack of diversity within STEM, and then furthering into that is motorsport. What's your views and thoughts around that?
Well, motorsport is not a very diverse place. I guess if you're looking at genders and ethnicities,
Mm,
um, it's yeah, predominantly white male. So yeah, it creates an interesting dynamic. I think more and more people are familiar with the fact that diversity is only good, even if you just want to look at the numbers in terms of how productive your business can be. So I
Mm.
think there's starting to be some conversations and some actions, and there's a growing number of people, younger people, coming through as engineers and wanting to work in motorsport. So there's a small but growing community. So yeah, I think it feels good at the moment.
That's good. And what advice would you give to, someone from an underrepresented background, venturing out into STEM, or, venturing out into studying engineering at school, university, and then going into the career itself? What are the three key things that you would tell that young person today?
Um, I would say no dream is too big. So you know, like if you have if you have a dream to be a top engineer in a Formula One team, go ahead. Like there's nothing that really stops you from doing that. Um, then the other thing I would say is uh, believe in hard work, because
Mm,
hard work is what you need to make those dreams happen. And sometimes there's more hard work than you might imagine that you need to
mm,
put in. But that's why it's important to do things that you really enjoy. And I would say the yeah, there's I don't know if you saw, actually. There's like a concept that I posted on my company's social media, and these words in so many situations um, just kind of ring around in my head, and that is
mm,
develop the situation. Um, and I would summarize that as um, I would summarize it as an attitude towards doing things that you might not have done before.
mm,
Um, so, in the sense that you might have a big dream and you might not know where to start, but it's important that you make a start in the right direction.
mm,
Take one step in the right direction, look around, reassess, take another step based on what you see from your first step, and just repeat that process.
mm.
Because yeah, a lot of the time when you have big dreams or ambitions, the route isn't clear. Like there's no set path on how to get there. So all you got to do is follow your heart, follow your intuition, and develop the situation. I think I think it's a really important piece of advice, and um, it's something that I follow in personal and professional life every day. So
Amazing. Thank you. And I think that will be really helpful to, students, people looking to get into the engineering field, because sometimes it seems so big, so daunting, especially with the narrative that has historically preceded the motorsport, the engineering industry. Females can't do this, or, because you've gone to this college, you can't get into this space. So, helping us to change a narrative that, yes, we can get through those spaces and we can break those glass ceilings, like we've seen throughout the development of more females coming into motorsport,
yeah,
such as the girls in motorsport campaign, and the different Mission 44 by Lewis Hamilton. We are seeing the strides being made, which is
mm,
very positive. In
yeah,
regards to that, I know we had conversations outside about this issue as well,
mm.
but what would you say to someone who perhaps isn't going down that traditional route of engineering? Can someone still get into engineering even if they don't go to university and study engineering, or, you know, had an apprenticeship in engineering? What are the
Mm.
alternative routes you believe, in your opinion, that could help someone get to the next step in, going into that field?
Um, yeah, the two main routes that would make sense for me is either a degree or some kind of apprenticeship, because
Mm,
like it's such a technical, scientific based field. I think some kind of formalized and structured training is essential. Uh,
mm,
So yeah, if a degree is not the route you want to go, then apprenticeships are quite good. And I guess that works in different ways. So if you wanted to, be a mechanic for like a racing mechanic, for example, or a technician, then
Mm,
you can start at, you can start what would essentially be an informal apprenticeship. Maybe if you can get a team to take you on and just gradually train you up. Um,
mm.
there's things like that you can do. Um, but yeah, some kind of there needs to be some kind of training. It's not really something you can just go in and pick up on the job.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that's really important for people to acknowledge as well, because, sometimes they just put their hand up in the air and say, actually, I want to do engineering because it sounds like a good idea. But
Yeah.
there are routes to help you become a successful engineer in whatever field that may be. And it does start with having that formalized training, whatever, framework that will be in, whether a degree or an apprenticeship or even a work placement, just to help you get those first initial steps.
Yeah, and for me, is at least like engineering. When I started engineering at university, it was like the first. It was the first time I really engaged with education because I had such a passion for it. So
Mm.
if engineering is something you love, then the coursework and the long hours and the whatever else, it's all right because you enjoy doing it. That's my
Mm.
experience anyway.
Yeah, passion is a big thing to help continue that motivation and commitment and consistency with something. So I think if you really have a passion in something, you do everything in your power to make it work, no matter how
Exactly.
small or big it may seem.
Exactly.
Um, and in addition to that, one of the key themes that we want to, discuss with our audience throughout this week is allyship. Having that other person to advocate for you in spaces where perhaps you're not seen or heard. Do
Mm.
you have an ally? And if so, who was that ally and how did they help you within your journey in engineering, if that was the case?
Mm. Um, I I don't know if certainly in the early stages, I would say I didn't have an ally because
Mm,
it was a field which I didn't have any experience in. I didn't have any connections in,
mm,
and I was just trying to, make some ambitions a reality. And I definitely felt and still feel that allyship is really important and mentorship. Um, I don't
mm,
know. For me, they're quite similar. Um,
mhm,
so I don't know. Maybe other people have different definitions, but yeah, someone who is in the space and will be there for you to, um, grab a piece of advice from, or um, just someone to talk to, someone to point you in
mm,
the right direction. I think is
mm.
really, really important. So for anyone, I would say if you can find an ally. I mean, and as with any personal relationship, like it has to be give and
Yeah,
take. You don't just be
yeah,
taking. So,
yeah.
no, maybe you can't help them professionally, but maybe you can become a friend to them in some way, or
Mm,
just establish a nice rapport. Um,
yeah.
so
Is there
yeah,
anyone is there anyone that you felt like you've built that mentorship, allyship with that helped you on your journey?
yeah, there are two people that come to mind. One of them, in the process of booking for my podcast, so you might
Amazing.
see him soon. Um, and another is a lady who also works in the space in the kind of communications and marketing side of things. So not an engineer as such, but is just familiar
Mm,
with how things work. And yeah, it's just someone who has always made me feel welcome, I suppose, and helped me with things. We actually recently worked on a project together, so that was
mm,
a nice way to combine engineering and the marketing and make something
yeah.
cool happen. So yeah.
Amazing. And I think it's really important to point out as well, like allyship is not necessarily someone that is like you, but
Mm.
perhaps more someone that you inspire to be and, someone that you feel have power in a certain position that will help you to get to, wherever you want to be. And, the fact that you have both, a male and female ally to help you in, your aspirations and, the projects that you work on is really important. So it's not necessarily always about, familiarity in regards to, whether they exactly look like me or they talk like me, that does help, but it's not always necessarily that is the
No.
case.
No, I mean, people are people at the end of the day. If you can cut through all the cultural differences and if you meet a good-hearted person, you just generally get on.
Definitely. Interesting question that just came to my mind, but what would you say would be your favorite brand of car, if you can actually say that without having to burn any bridges?
Ooh, that's a good one, actually. Any kind of car?
Any.
Um, I think, yeah. So, actually, a client of mine, funnily enough, is McLaren. And before we had a professional relationship, I always appreciated that they were very innovative. Like, it's quite a young brand, and they were very innovative and had a really big impact. And I really I've appreciated their engineering approaches to certain
Yeah.
problems. They've got some great technologies in their cars. Um, yeah, now I guess it's interesting because I get to see that from the inside and contribute to it. So yeah, that's yeah, in a strange turn of events because I'd actually never thought about that, but here we are. Yeah,
Oh,
I'd say McLaren.
amazing. Amazing. And would you like to own one day? Wanted to go through today. It was great to have you on, and it was great to hear your story, the power that is within you to, you know, be innovative in the field that you are passionate about, and continue to make really great impact in. Personally, from seeing the work that you've done and hearing some of the stuff that you've done as well, it's hugely inspiring, not just to me. And I'm not here to say that I want to be an engineer, but it's very good to see and look to someone within a field that is doing amazing work. And I'm sure there are other young people who will feel inspired and who'd want to take this next leap in advancing or getting into the career of engineering. So, as a final thought for our guest today, what would you say would be your hopes for the engineering landscape in the future?
Mm, the engineering landscape, I would like. Um, yeah, I think a good thing for the industry to move towards is just to be more diverse because yeah, a lot of engineering offices look the same, and it's quite a sharp contrast to other industries. And sometimes it might never be a thing where it's 50-50 because maybe not 50% of when I say 50-50, I mean in terms of men and women,
Yeah.
for example, because maybe it's not 50% of women who want to be in engineering, but um, equality of opportunity is, I think, a good thing to aim for. Where if someone does want to be in the field, then they have an open door to give it their best shot.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Di, and have a lovely day wherever you are. Thank
Thank
you.
you.